the industry doesn't have an AI capability problem anymore. It is more about a confidence problem. For an organization to succeed, they have to ensure that they bridge this confidence gap.
Hi everyone, welcome to another exciting session of TestMu AI XP Series. I'm your host Kavya, Director of Product Marketing at TestMu AI, and it's an absolute pleasure to have you all with us today. Joining us today is Sagar Chitre, who leads quality engineering and testing solutions for Capgemini Financial Services, shaping innovative, high impact offerings that pair with deep domain expertise with emerging technologies. He brings over 24 years of experience across banking, commodities, and manufacturing with a super strong record of delivering complex multi country transformation programs. Sagar, it's an absolute pleasure to have you with us today.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Kavya. I think you explained it much better than what I could have explained about myself. So it's again good to hear something which I would have done. But what I wanted to say on a very simple note is like uh, I've grown through career, started as a tester, now directing the solutions. So this 24 years have just been a pleasure, and the time has gone very fast, and I've seen too much change is happening in the industry, but the focus of quality engineering always remains quality, and that is what I think is the key for me.
Thank you so much for explaining it so well, Sagar, and sharing about it. So we're looking forward to today's session. To the audience, right? We are going to unpack the real state of AI powered testing. It has, of course, introduced adaptive, self-healing, intelligent automation, yet enterprise confidence in these systems stays surprisingly low. And that's an interesting problem statement to discuss today. So Sagar will share why AI-driven adoption seems to have plateaued before reaching its full potential, and the confidence gap between perceived intelligence and proven reliability. So, Sagar, let's jump straight into the questions, right? Of course, today's discussion revolves around adaptive but untrusted. So, what does that phrase capture about where AI driven testing really stands in enterprises today?
So look, to be very honest, this adaptive but untrusted, that captures the perfect paradox what we are seeing in the industry. And the reason why I say paradox is like organizations want to genuinely appreciate what AI brings on the table. Uh, we are going in that particular direction. That is, we are seeing a huge amount of AI implementations in terms of generating test cases, ensuring that this test results can be validated. We are putting in the self-healing components and everything, and that has been growing very fast with how changes have come into industry. But I think trust is where we have not seen that same level of adaptability, and I think that's where I said that adaptive but untrusted is something very much important. uh, Quality engineering is all about having the right level of confidence in terms of the results, and this is where that trust factors comes into picture. Now AI is bridging that gap, that it is showing the nature of that adaptability. But the challenge remains is, can we trust all the results what we are getting? And that's where what we are seeing is most of the enterprises are willing for an AI assisted testing rather than having an AI own testing outcomes. Now that's the differentiation what we are seeing today in the industry.
Thanks so much, Sagar. You mentioned that they are of course slowly adapting to AI or AI testing tools, for instance. But do you see that what is the time frame that you have in mind in terms of the change or the adoption that needs to happen within a large scale enterprise, for instance?
So look, in last year and a half, we have seen a massive change
Mhm.
in where AI was, how AI was, and everything. Uh, and what I usually tell with, when I'm talking with my customer, we talk about primarily is like AI at many instances is giving them a boilerplate sort of responses, not necessarily a complete end-to-end picture. And this is where I try and compartmentalize into three sorts of buckets, is how I will put, so that it's easy for everyone to understand. The first part is the knowledge which is associated about the domain, and many of these LLMs have good enough understanding of how a particular domain works in a particular region and everything. But the second and the third bucket, which is primarily focusing on how an organization has adapted that particular domain inside its remit. Now, that context is very much important when you want to give the right level of details for an AI response. And third is what sorts of applications the organization have inside it. Now, the second and the third context is very much specific to an organization, and that's where uh, the time frame, or rather than just saying that in 6 months or 8 months you will see a huge change and things like that, it's more in terms of like organizations who understand these differences work on how that second bucket, which is what they have implemented, how their business has used it, plus what application landscape they have. If that gets integrated, then that's where you will see that things will move faster. Now, it can be some organizations can say that they can build this sort of systems in next 3 months, 6 months, but that's how I will put time scales in that regard.
Thank you so much, Sagar. That really helps. I wanted to ask this question primarily because I understand that there would be different types and levels of organizations listening to us today. So, wanted to ensure that they get an answer to it. Moving on to the next
Just
question. Uh-huh.
now, just one small aspect I just want to address that. And that there was a very good word which someone used when I was having a conversation with them. It was like we have the concept of vibe coding. There's
Yeah,
no concept of vibe testing.
that's right.
And people have to understand this particular aspect, that when they use Claude or Cursor, giving access to the repo of code base, you get very good knowledge about what the code does and everything. And the models are great in terms of understanding that.
Yeah.
But the models are not that great when it comes to the aspect wherein how
Mhm.
my user wants something implemented, or what my business is looking at it. And that's where testing focuses on all that part. And that's where uh, a single part, which is like saying that okay, we will use XYZ LLM and it will resolve all my problem, is not something as a solution which works for many of the organization. Let it be small, let it be large. And that's where this multi-agented sort of augmented platforms are coming into picture, and solutions are also coming into picture, which resolves primarily the testing problem, because it start
Yeah.
giving this three bucketed concepts, how I would put, and you start getting more grounded and more realistic responses.
No, well
Sorry,
said.
I didn't mean to cut you. It was more as an extension of the first part or the second part of the question. So I thought it's better I answer that part.
No, well said. I think that is definitely one of the foundations for even TestMu AI's product and innovation that we are bringing in, right? I mean, we want to ensure that users are able to test AI with AI while keeping human in the loop at the end of the day. So, yeah, that's definitely it. So, the next question that I wanted to move on was ask you was about self-healing and adaptive automation, right? These are definitely mentioned as breakthroughs. So, why do you think AI driven adaptation has plateaued before reaching its full potential and not moved beyond it, perhaps?
Look, the it's like with AI coming in and the self-healing concept and everything, the industry overall got very excited that it will reduce all the maintenance effort, which I'm not saying is not valuable, because no one wants hundreds of tests failing because a certain button ID changed and everything. Now, the concept comes in like with AI. Uh, AI acts as a smart engine, and many a times it self heals itself. But
Mhm.
now, do we know whether the intent of the test is actually met or not when a self healing has occurred or not?
Yeah.
Now, that is the question which is harder to answer, because in a longer chain where you have thousands of test cases, if it has healed 50 or 60 test cases and everything works fine, uh, we don't know what that exact healing has happened until unless those sorts of data is collected, those sorts of audits are there and everything. I often say that we have become very good at making that the test can survive the changes, but we are not yet equally good at proving that the adaptations what AI has done is correct. And that's where is that plateau which it has reached, wherein we have to now develop or make changes which will ensure that whatever AI has changed or suggested and everything is in alignment with overall intent of what it was supposed to do, and we have the right level of audits and everything to verify that part.
Thanks a lot, Sagar, for shedding more light into it. And moving to the next question, right? Non-determinism, of course, sits in the heart of the trust problem. You, of course, mentioned about organizations dealing with the trust right at the start of the conversation. But my question is, why is unpredictable behavior so damaging for testing, where teams expect repeatable, reliable results? And of course, with AI in picture, right, getting those repeatable, reliable results at all time consistently, that definitely requires some honing as far as I know. So yeah, could you probably share more on that?
So look at it this way: testing as a principle is fundamentally based on, can I repeatably produce the same results if it is a regression pack? And that helps me in terms of determining the quality of what we have developed, whether has it introduced any sorts of changes and everything. Now, if I execute the same test cases on the same application multiple times, the expectation what a tester has is that the outcomes are same, and that helps in terms of building the right level of confidence. The challenge with AI is there's some level of variability what AI brings in, and that variability is something which many a times start hindering the level of confidence, because if I run same sets of test cases multiple times, and if I see that because of AI implementation there are certain changes which are happening and everything, and that sort of starts losing that level of confidence. So it's- if a result is changing without a very clear understanding uh, of why it has changed. Was it really a necessary change, or was it a false thing because of which normally we would have raised a defect or something? Those sorts of things, when they are not very clearly explained to a human, or they are not clearly explainable, that's where people lose trust. So it is not necessary that AI is doing the things wrong, it's that the engineer can't have the confidence because they don't have the explainable outcome. And that's where for critical testing, predictability remains just as important as an intelligence part. And that is primarily how I would put that we are seeing an unpredictable behavior sort of damaging the testing. It's not that it's completely unpredictable, but it's that the reasoning element of why some things have changed and everything is not that clear, because of which that confidence is lower.
Great insights. Thank you so much, Sagar. I think that really answers the question that we had for you. Similarly, right, I think you did speak about next to, along with trust, right? One more thing that occurs is that how flaky outcomes erode that trust really fast, right? I mean, how do you tell genuine AI adaptability apart from flakiness, and what helps teams separate a real signal from a random noise?
So, so let's understand this, the slight differences. Okay, purely flakiness. When I talk about it, it's an unpredictable behavior without any clear explanation. And adaptability is behavior that can change for a valid and traceable reason. Now, if I look at both of these two things, uh, AI can update a selector because let's assume an UI element has moved or changed and something, and it can show that the evidence and the decision why it has made that and everything. And it can prove that the intent of this change is not damaging the overall intent. Now, that is a good adaptation. But in not necessarily at every stage that this is something which is possible, because the same test passes one day, fails one day under the same identical conditions, and if no one can explain why that has happened, that's where we will call it as a flakiness. Or even if AI has adapted, let's say today AI changes X, tomorrow it changes Y for the similar thing without any change, and that sort of even AI adaptability will be treated as a flakiness adaptability in that manner. So AI should never simply say, trust me, I have fixed it. But what it should say is, this is what I have changed. This is the logic behind my change. This is how I have ensured that the evidence is captured. And this is how I've ensured that the intent of everything has remained intact. And that will, how I will say, is that will separate intelligence from any sort of randomness and things like that. Uh, I don't know if I've answered your complete question, but that's where my thoughts were flowing through when you asked me something.
No, absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing that. And especially when you work with, multiple organizations at enterprise level, right? Especially financial services, for instance, for them, it is very important to ensure that whatever goes into prod is, of course, free of, bugs to begin with, right? So, are there any examples or use cases that you have come across in which some of the organizations have really well implemented AI in order to ensure that everything happens seamlessly? Is there any system, framework, or a tool that they have implemented that sort of addresses this problem?
So, what I have seen with talking with different organizations when we show multiple demos and everything, uh, every SI partner or every tool company has come up with uh, an AI implementable solutions and everything, and more or less, I would call it as art of possibility in
Mm-hmm.
today's world.
Yep.
Now, with that art of possibility, what we have seen is many of these things are same. It's just that how the customer wants to implement and what level of documentations and knowledge they have around their applications. Because if the right level of knowledge is not shared with the AI, it's more like the outputs will not be accurate. It's the way I see it is like garbage in and garbage out. If you feed garbage, your output will be garbage. So, in that manner, is how I will really look at it. Uh, Now, with few of the customers, what we have seen historically is like many of them have used AI uh, from a pure test generation aspect associated with it, wherein large contexts are given. And we have seen that a very high level of accuracy has been reached in terms of your test case generation, as well as in many aspects, your automation test case generations and everything. Now, it all fits very well when we are talking about a web APIs sort of thing. In a thick client or a mainframe based application, there are specialized tools, specialized vendors where, again, only using those specialized tools and specialized vendors, we have seen a high level of accuracy. But I think the overall direction is now changing. People are not looking at quality assurance or a quality engineering as an independent stream. Everyone wants that it has to be completely integrated into SDLC, and that is where now the next shift is coming through, where we are seeing that people want to ensure that uh, as a assurance function or as a quality engineering function, it sits inside the SDLC cycle. It looks at how the requirements are there, Can we move towards a spec-driven development sort of phase? Uh, there are many areas where we are all looking at a complete black box sort of testing, that the agent does all the development, it does all the testing, and we can ship things into production. It's a very fast evolving and changing world with the changes which are coming into industry. So there is not a dedicated sort of use cases, but it's sorts of a variety of areas where we have seen implementations happening.
Thanks, Sagar. Thanks for sharing that. And also, what level of accuracy should enterprises realistically expect before trusting AI within their critical test suites? Because you did mention garbage in, garbage out, right? So I think this is aligned with exactly that. I understand in certain ways, but are there any other matrices that they should follow, and what level of accuracy should they be expecting?
Uh, to be very honest, anything which is more than 90 or 95% is how I would treat that level of accuracy. But now, where I'm coming from is like, uh, it always has to be to a very greater extent that there is a human in the loop sort of concept, so that your accuracy scores can be increased. Your knowledge which the human brings in, if there is anything which I will call as more of a course correction. So if I have received a response which is not that accurate, the human in the loop corrects the course, and we get through that 90-95% of accuracy, because we are working in an industry which is more in terms of banking and insurance, where this accuracy levels have to be very high. Now, your second part of question is what sorts of matrices we will have to look at it. Traditionally, all the Kiwi was more into what is my pass rate, what is my root cause analysis, and everything. But I think with the evolving world, I would put it into four buckets. One is what is my reliability? That is, how often my results remain consistent? Can they be repeatably executed with the same reliability and everything? The second part, I would link it at what is my accuracy score? Okay. Am I getting any sorts of false positives or false negatives? How do I bring in that level of confidence and everything? The third primary area which I would look at it is in terms of explainability. Any decisions which have been made, are we in a position to explain it? Do we have the right level of audit logs where all these details can be shared and everything? And the last part is more in terms of governance. Are we looking at the right level of guardrails have been put in? Do we have the right level where the model drifts have been identified, the AI decisions have been corrected, we have the human in the loop and everything?
Thanks, Sagar. You also mentioned, coming to guardrails. In fact, that was supposed to be my next question, right? How best can any organization go about implementing guardrails in order to ensure that their data, their security is remains, of course, safe, and they're able to at the same time create the best possible quality of layer of quality to begin with.
So look, the guardrails is how, or the way we have seen guardrails being implemented. Either it is at an organization level, where your security teams or your CXO teams and everyone define those sorts of guardrails. They are implemented organization wide or something. Or we have tools like, from Capgemini perspective, we have an accelerator where every agent have a defined set of guardrails, and which the organization can change those sorts of guardrails. Now, what that helps is like, let's assume we define something as a sensitive data. We don't want to send that sensitive data outside. Can that data be masked or something, and that sort of guardrails? Now there is a complete code base. I don't ever want my code base directly exposed. Now, will there be some sort of guardrails in and around that? Yes, but again, it is purely defined in terms of organizations, how and what they want. And what I've seen is many of the tool providers and everyone either use the organization guardrails, or they can have their own sets of guardrails embedded, on top of the tools, and then it works in that manner.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Coming to one of the key questions that a lot of quality engineers would definitely want to understand, right? If they want to start implementing AI within their teams, right? From an upskilling perspective, where should they get started with?
Uh, this is the reason why I'm smiling is it's a very important question,
Mm,
which every SI vendors and the leads and everyone in the organization are going through.
mm,
Uh, with Capgemini, what we have done is we have created a 18-step implementation plan for AI. And when I see implementation for plan for AI, it primarily touches areas wherein how a resource should upscale himself, how an organization should decide what they should do as part of the AI implementation, what helps them in terms of choosing the right LLM and everything. But purely from a resource perspective, all of this organization, as well as if you even go on YouTube and everything, there are too many open or free courses which are available. The important things, what I keep on telling my team members is, until unless you don't get your hands dirty, you'll not learn anything. You have to start with basics. Don't look that someone is going to come and teach you all the theory associated with it. You have to fail fast, learn, fail fast, learn, implement. Nowadays, there are too many, again, open source and free things which are available. Try your hands on them, implement something, try and see how you can resolve some simple problems. Start with simple problem statement, add more complexity, use all your testing knowledge and see how you can learn things. There's no dedicated, like you cannot say that, okay, I will learn XYZ and I'll become an expert. It doesn't work like that in today's world. So try your hands in all areas, keep on learning, keep on reading, because what you know today might not be relevant tomorrow. And that's how fast the industry is changing.
Well said. Thank you so much, Sagar. And moving on to the last question that we have, looking ahead, what has to change for AI-driven testing to finally reach its peak, especially when it comes to enterprises as well as within financial service organizations? And how close is the industry really to to achieve that end-to-end confidence?
Look, the way I will look at it is like the future isn't about an autonomous testing or something. It's more about an accountable testing. Now, any organization which is ensuring that they are building right sorts of guardrails, right sorts of governance structure, right sorts of tool chains, right sorts of mechanisms and everything, because of which there's an accountability which is brought in into your decision making. There's an accountability in terms of who has taken the decision, why they have taken the decision, are the decisions relevant to the intent of the things, and do we have the right level of matrices to monitor and check all of this thing. So whoever gets ahead in that race of accountability, that is an area where you will see that people will start seeing the maximum benefits associated with it. So that's why I believe that the next phase of innovation isn't making AI smarter, it is making AI more transparent, auditable, and trustworthy.
Thank you so much, Sagar. That was really insightful. And that also brings us to the end of an insightful session of TestMu AI XP webinar series. So before we wrap, is there anything that you'd perhaps like to share with our audience?
uh, one last part, I would like to iterate that the industry doesn't have an AI capability problem anymore. It is more about a confidence problem. And for an organization to succeed, they have to ensure that they bridge this confidence gap. Uh, every organization will have a different level of tolerance in terms of this confidence different parameters sometimes to judge what this confidence means. And the faster and better they understand it, the faster they will move towards the adaptability of this AI.
Thank you so much. Once again, really thankful to Sagar Chitre for such a thoughtful, candid, and enriching conversation. I'm pretty sure that our audience that's listening in today would have definitely benefited from the insights that you shared on AI adaptability with deterministic validation. To our audience, thank you for joining us, and make sure that you're following TestMu AI on our social channels so that you can listen to more sessions like these. And of course, we would be tagging Sagar, so feel free to follow him and his work so that you can get more insights directly from him. Until next time, everyone, thank you so much. And thank you, Sagar, once again. Really appreciate it.
Thanks a lot. Thanks very much for hearing me out. And very nice talking with you.
Thank you.
Yes,
Have a good day.